Okay.
Paige. Okay, Paige, you need to say something real quick so we can do the bottom third.
Hi, you guys. I'm Paige
Hi.
Reynolds.
We're live, guys. We're live. You go say something, Carla. Anyway.
Okay, I can get started now, I believe. All right, good evening, New Salem. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for another episode. I'm Carla Coleman, Director of Communications for New Salem Baptist Church. With me, I have my host, Paige Reynolds, and who is my co-host. You want to say hello, Paige?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday.
Great, great. All right, everyone, feel free to come on into the room and put your questions inside the chat. This evening, we are talking about COVID-19 and the vaccine. We have 4 members of New Salem Baptist Church with us here today. They're all physicians here in Columbus and Chillicothe, and they're here tonight to give us some facts, debunk some fiction, and to help us make an educated decision about getting the vaccine when it becomes available to us. So we're excited to have them with us tonight. Let's see.
And Dr. Brown, if you can mute your microphone, Dr. Brown.
Great. So as you know, the United States has recently started to distribute the approved COVID-19 vaccines to frontline workers across the country, and now it's being made available to people over 65 years old. Soon the vaccine will be widely available to the public, and medical experts believe that this vaccine is not only safe, but it's also effective. This evening, we're blessed to have Dr. Chris Brown, a nephrologist from Chillicothe, Ohio, Dr. Earl Haley, a family medicine physician in Pataskala, Ohio, Dr. Bonita Ward, a pathologist here in Columbus, and Dr. Eric Ward, a urology specialist also here in Columbus. Remember, put your questions in the chat and Paige will relay your messages and we'll pick those up as we go along. I'm going to ask each of our panelists that are here with us tonight to just tell us a little bit about themselves and just pretty much give us a little thoughts about the COVID-19 and the vaccine. So I'm going to start with Dr. Brown. Are you available? If not, I think wait a minute. I decided to put you at the end because I know you had some other things you were doing. So we'll start with Dr. Bonita Ward. And Dr. Ward, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am trained as a forensic pathologist, but I did the traditional pathology residency here at Ohio State. I have I've been, I guess, retired or semi-retired for a few years now, but still in the health field. Currently, I focus mostly on health and wellness, looking at patients or clients as a healthy model. So how do you become the better you that you can be? And so I use my clinical training to assist with this, meaning that I can apply all of the healthy model things to the diseased model things that we learn in medical school. So my background, as far as this COVID is related, it has to do with just the basic sciences. So the basic science of the immune system, what are vaccines and what types are they? Why is this one so different, so special? Why did it come here so fast? And then my other area of specialty is on the other side. What can I do to be the healthiest I can to protect myself with and without having that vaccination right now, but being as healthy as I can be, so that when I do get the vaccination, that my immune system can accept it and be very vigorous response and strong.
Excellent. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Next is Dr. Earl Haley, who's on the front line here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a little introduction?
Good evening, New Salem. My name is Earl Haley. I am a family physician trained. I actually work in hospital, so I'm a physician that works in the hospital. So, when you come to the ER doc will see you. And then if you stay, then I'll take care of you throughout your hospital stay. I'm actually out here in Lancaster, Ohio at Fairfield Medical Center. So I'm on the front lines as a hospital physician, along with my ICU docs. It's a team approach, and also our infectious disease docs as well. So I'm on the program tonight with my colleagues here just to kind of discuss the importance to the New Salem church family of please getting your vaccine. It's been in the news. There's been a rollout here at our facility. We've had healthcare providers already receive their vaccine. I actually got my vaccine, so I'm in line to get my second one coming up here, I think next week on my calendar. So please, New Salem, please get your vaccine. Side effects for me when I got my shot, it's a sore arm, so not that big of a deal. My colleagues as well. Really no adverse side effects. I mean, sometimes you might get like a fever or such, but for me, I just had like a sore arm and I was okay. It's very important to get the vaccine because I see the other side of it firsthand. Unfortunately, patients that come in respiratory distress because they contracted the COVID, which is very contagious. We had a patient just a few minutes ago before I came in the air, got called to the unit because a patient required high amount of oxygen on the line of be put on the life support. We call it a mechanical ventilator. So the patient's in there, air hungry, grasping for air. They're in this little room, so they're isolated. There's no family. He's asking the nurse, can he call his wife? So it could be a scary thing. I see patients. We see patients here. We treat them. We have different treatment regimens. None of it's been proven. We have an infectious disease team here at our hospital, like many other hospitals, to help with different trials that we're doing with patients. But when I see a patient that comes in with COVID, for me, it's almost like 50-50, when they, if they're going to survive or not. They come in, for instance, patient will come in, I'll discharge them, maybe on some oxygen, and unfortunately they'll come right back and requiring more oxygen, and some folks do require the ventilator, and some don't make it, unfortunately. So I think it's very important that all of us get the vaccine. And I know as African American, sometimes there's been some hesitancy about getting vaccinations, but not only getting this COVID, but just getting vaccinations in general. I mean, I've probably since medical school, and that's going back to early 2000, almost 20 years, I've been getting vaccines year after year after year after year after year, and no major side effects. And same thing with this COVID vaccine. So when I got mine about a couple of weeks ago, again, there's no side effects. And my big thing is the worst side effect you can do is not get the vaccine and then end up in this COVID unit in a hospital. Because I see the agony that the patients are going through. I see them struggling to breathe. I see, they're isolated. We don't let families in. So, they're in there by themselves. And it's almost like a cell. You got nurses in and out. So it's a very tough situation. So, I just hope that all our members that look out and see, you have doctors speaking with you this evening who are getting the vaccine and say, hey, look, we did it, and we're okay. And I just, hope that New Zealand does get the vaccine. And because if you don't, and you do get COVID-19, things can get kind of rough. So.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haley. That was a great message. Dr. Eric Ward, you want to share your thoughts with us and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so my name's Dr. Eric Ward. I'm a urologist at Ohio Health Riverside, trained at Ohio State, and did my residency there, medical school there. And so I've been in the community for a while. I too have had my first dose. Got it actually 2 weeks ago, and I'm now 1 week status post knee replacement. So I even got this vaccine right before getting a major surgery, relatively major, without any fear or any issues. As Earl pointed out, or Dr. Haley pointed out, it's just basically a sore arm. And what patients have to understand, what the public has to understand, is this is a new technology. So there's really there's zero risk of getting sick from this, or getting at least getting COVID. Because the type of vaccine it is, cannot give you the disease. So it's very safe. That's first and foremost. Secondly, this is not the kind of thing you want to aspire to, even if you think you're healthy. Healthy people have died from this or had long-term side effects that are very severe. So that's one reason. And secondly, you're going to be around other people who are vulnerable. And that's, this is not just about being selfish and about how you feel. It's about your effect on those around you in the community, your family, your friends, your coworkers. So, and I'm sure we'll get into more about why that is another major reason to get this vaccine.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Haley. So, Dr. Chris Brown, are you available yet? If not, you can just jump in.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
okay, how's it going? All right, so I'm Dr. Brown, Dr. Christopher Brown. So I am a clinical nephrologist. That's a kidney and hypertension specialist. Main practice is in Chillicothe. Also have a hypertension management clinic that is starting up in Westerville. So I guess in terms of my experience with COVID-19, I guess similar to Dr. Haley, kind of frontline-ish. So the way I interact with it primarily is, when we're in the hospital, we're rounding. Typically, the individuals that do get, severely ill from COVID-19, a lot of them do have kidney issues, and so we wind up seeing them from that standpoint. Also, because we do dialysis, those individuals are never able to stop what they were doing. So they were, that was a group of patients that, even throughout the pandemic, we had to see them, and they still had to continue their dialysis, which, especially when they first got here, was pretty intimidating. I mean, pretty scary, because they're in a unit where everybody was close together. Also, I've served with the public health department, so kind of saw it from that aspect as well. So I think from my standpoint, kind of like everyone else, the vaccine is an important tool in terms of management of this virus. Of course, we've kind of gone through a number of the iterations, which the typical, wash hands, wear a mask, keep distance. We've been fortunate to have a number of other pharmaceuticals that we've been able to try to manage this, and this is yet again another element in our attempt to kind of curb the vaccine, curb the this pandemic. So I think that kind of like I said, I know that there has been for some people a lot of anxiety about the vaccine, and so of course from others it's like an energetic embrace of it, and kind of like everyone else said as well, it's like I think it's important to get proper information about the vaccine before making rash decisions, because I've seen between just conversations as well as like social media feeds with a lot of different information that is out there. So I always ask people to I think it's important to ask questions. Like I said, no one should ever be belittled for asking questions, but make sure that you're asking questions from multiple sources so that you can get the best information for you. So.
Amen. That's perfect. You're absolutely right. We have to do our own research. I mean, we really do, and do what's best. In other cases, I would say I would start bombarding you with different questions that I might have, or that we created on our own, but we have a lot of questions in the chat. And so we're just going to go directly to those questions, because I know we don't have a lot of time, and I want to try to make sure that we answer a lot of the questions from the people who are viewing tonight. So Paige, you want to get started?
Yeah, definitely. We have so many, so I'm just going to start at the beginning and go down, and anyone can jump out to answer them. So how will the vaccine affect people with autoimmune diseases, short-term and long-term?
Who wants to take that one? Yeah.
I don't know that. Well, I think the one thing to understand about the vaccine is that the quote unquote platform, which is this messenger RNA, it's they've been working on it for quite a while. Using it for this particular virus, of course, is new. So the answers like that, like hypothetically speaking, one would not think that this would interfere with someone with an autoimmune disorder. With that being said, I don't know that we necessarily know, because it would take, this is one of the things that it takes study in order to see how that goes. And the other thing is with autoimmune diseases, those diseases are just kind of peculiar in and of themselves. So a lot of times it's kind of hard to predict. So like say you got a lupus or something in nature, those diseases are hard to predict just ordinarily. So, if you get a vaccine and something happens, it may not necessarily be the vaccine. It could always be that this particular, your particular disease course just kind of happened to change at the time that you got that. And separating the two of those is very difficult. So right now we don't have any sort of information about how it would affect somebody with an autoimmune disease specifically. I think that some of the benefits might be that, an individual with autoimmune disease would also typically they're getting immunosuppressants, which might make them more vulnerable to getting the viruses, and possibly succumbing to the virus itself. So I know it's a complicated answer. Unfortunately, I wish it was a nice, simple answer or whatever. But I think that I think it's a good question. It's a very good question. I think that it's one of those things that, you definitely would want to have a conversation with whomever is managing your autoimmune disease, to get their perspective about it. And it's going to be different things. Like I said, if you're a younger person, and your autoimmune disease is difficult to control, it might be one thing. Granted, if you're an older person, you're 65 and stuff of that nature, the risk benefit may still favor, going ahead to get that vaccine. So, but with the caveat of knowing that, do we know if it's going to, flare lupus or something like that? I don't know that we know that. We have no data supporting that. I'll put it that way. And it's something that we would, I'm sure they'll be watching it as we go forward.
Yeah, thank you. So how long does the vaccine last as a protectant against the virus? Is there...
The type of virus or the type of vaccine that it is, it produces a pretty vigorous response. So it would be the same as if you were getting like your kid viruses or your kid vaccines. So they are lifetime. At this point, we don't have the data to prove that, but in theory, what they believe is that this should have lasting benefits for getting the doses. It wouldn't be one that you would have to get several boosts like we do for tetanus, but you would probably get, we know we get 2 shots of them, but it may be that some of the different kinds, the different makers may have a booster that you get, but after that you get no more. At least that's what they're saying right now.
Okay. So for people who have already contracted COVID and fought it, should they get the vaccine as well?
That's what they're recommending.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's greater than 3 months, yes.
Yes, I was going to say, but there's a lag period, so you still have antibodies in you, but eventually they're recommending that you get the shot, just like with the certain person that's in that White House right now, because he had COVID. He didn't rush to do the public, vaccination or anything like that, because he did have antibodies from having it as well as the antibodies that he got as treatment. So he's got a little lag period before he can actually get the vaccine.
But at some point he would need to get the vaccine, or someone in a similar situation would need to.
Right. So natural immunity is what you get when you've had the disease. And this is a different level of immunity that you get from the vaccine. And we think it's a more powerful immunity. So that's why we think people who have had it should also get it. Yeah, there's no question about that.
Okay.
Now,
So
just one more thing. Now, it may end up being something like with the flu vaccine, because it mutates, that there may be one that we have to get updated, but they have not shown that yet, that it will be something that they will have to redo every year because of the type of virus. I mean, why do I keep saying virus? Because of the type of vaccine that it is, that unless that part that's being that protein that's being created, if that part doesn't mutate, then it should, with each mutation, it should still work.
okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does the vaccine interfere with people already on medication?
No more than any other vaccination that you get.
Okay.
I mean, all my other docs can chime in, but as far as I know, as far as like the basics of vaccinations, there are only a few reasons why you wouldn't get a certain type of vaccination.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe if you're on some sort of immunosuppressant, maybe like chemotherapy or something of nature, you might want to talk to, whoever the specialist is that's managing that, because you need a nice immune response. And if they're suppressing your immune system, you may not get that if you're under those medications at that time. So that'd be the only caveat I would think to that.
Okay. Got it. So is there a reason or like shown proof of why COVID is affecting like the African American community harder than others?
Oh,
I
controversy.
think, yeah, I think
You kind of took a turn.
I'll jump in. Right, I guess I'll start off. I mean, as a family doc, when I was doing outpatient medicine, just we have a lot of disease comorbidities, or my fancy word is saying like a lot of risk factors like high blood pressure tends to run in the African American community. High cholesterol, heart disease. So that's what we're seeing here at the hospital. So if it's almost like we kind of start behind the 8 ball just because we have those different things. And so when you have diabetes that's uncontrolled, or you have obesity, that's also a risk factor. I think that's one reason why our community is being hit so hard. And then also just access of care. A lot of the community does not have family practitioners or providers, someone that they can see on a regular basis. I remember during my training, we would have like free clinics and or different clinics for folks who may not even have docs. Even here in the rural areas, it's the same thing. But I think a big part of it is the comorbidities, high blood pressure, the diabetes, obesity. When you get COVID-19, your body's already trying to fight to maintain good sugars for your diabetes, to maintain blood pressure. If you have heart disease or heart failure, and then you get COVID on top of that, it's just like a double whammy. And then I think access to care is a big issue as well.
And the only thing I would add to that is that many of our folks are essential workers, and they can't just flip a switch and work from home. You're in more cramped quarters. Those are all major factors. I mean, all of these social factors that no one talks about are really important as to why the transmission rate's been higher in our community.
Well, and I'll tag on at the end of all of that to say that we have been less than enthusiastic or in the front of the line as far as getting even if we have access. I have a lot of friends who are like, I'm not getting that shot, and they have all kinds of access to medical care and everything. The myths and the history, I think, behind medicine and the African American community kind of put us on pause, and we just kind of sit back and say, well, I'm gonna wait until so and so or who has their shots first before I see if I'm gonna go and get it, which I think may not be a really good approach. After watching or reading all the material on COVID-19, I think that we need to step up and at some point take ownership of our own health. That not everybody is out to make us into the lab rats or experiment new drugs on us, because everybody's going to end up getting this. Nobody's trying to create a new Frankenstein or something like that. So I think that, yes, the history is there, and I can understand the hesitancy because of the apparent the apparent pace that this vaccine came on board, but the regulatory agencies that are in place, and all the people that watch them, and all the people that watch all the people getting vaccination, you have many systems that are watching all of this process. Even though it had emergency release, all these processes are in place for safe delivery of this vaccination, because the risks of the COVID virus outweigh of getting the COVID virus outweigh the risk of any bad things happening with just getting this vaccination. So my whole thing is that we, in creating this better you, the healthier you, that we have to take as a community. We have to be responsible for our health. We can't just wait until something falls off, or that you got something growing, or you don't feel good or anything like that. Why not do everything you can to stay healthy, to be the better person you can, to eat the right things, if you do already have a disease that has been diagnosed, follow all of the doctor's recommendations. If you have questions, ask until you feel satisfied that your answers have been made. Then, just do the best you can. Exercise, get lots of rest, stay hydrated. All those things will help. The mindset change is important.
Yeah, and you're right. It's that mindset change and being, and being proactive in how you manage your own health. Can you give us just a couple of just things off the top of your head that we should be doing to keep ourselves, aside from listening to our healthcare providers and making sure that we're managing certain of if we have any condition diseases that we're dealing with? Anything else that we should be doing?
Well, the basis of what I do, and if anybody has ever been to any of the talks that I've given, is I go through the clean eating kind of, you got to clean up your diet. That's one thing, because your gut is the largest immune system or immune organ that you have. That is one of besides your lungs and your skin, that is one of the first areas where your body is exposed to things that it doesn't normally have in it. So if you're taking in a lot of chemicals that you can't even spell or say, then your immune system is going to look at it the same way. I don't understand what this is, so I don't even know what to do with it. So I'm just going to, maybe shove it into the wall of your gut, and then your immune system's looking at it there, and then, it doesn't know what to do, so it just shoves it into the blood, so it ends up all over the place. And that's where they believe that autoimmune diseases come from. Mm-hmm. But so eating clean is the first thing that you can do. Just clean up your diet, get rid of all the processed foods. You don't have to cut out all the things that you like, but just how about eating them in moderation? Lower your sugar intake. Mm-hmm. Eat more vegetables and fruits. Manage your stress. All these things that you hear. I know it just sounds like I'm just being redundant about things that you hear all the time, but there's a reason why you hear it all the time, because it's very important of being along the lines of being the healthier you. So managing stress, getting quality sleep. So if you're not up there in that 7 to 8 hour sleep time, which I know for some people is hard, then there must be other reasons why. Maybe you're drinking too much caffeine. Maybe you have too much stress. And that, maybe you need to address those things. Get some exercise, because exercise will help you with your sleep. Stay hydrated. And that's not just sip, sip, sip. I have my water right here all the time with me. And if you know me, you always see me with my water. I'm always drinking something. Stay hydrated. Sip all day long. That's the best advice. Because a lot of times most people are operating in a dehydrated state. So drink lots of water. And this one is hard for me, but limit your alcohol. I have my 1 glass of wine. And it depends on if I'm in the party mood, I might have 2, but 1 glass of wine is okay. But if you're drinking lots of alcohol, you might want to cut that back, dilute it or something, but cut it back. One every other day or something like that. Watch your caffeine intake. And then for mental health, stay connected to your friends and your family and your coworkers. I mean, you may not be able to physically see them, but mental health is also important. So that's that other stress piece. And, depression, mental illness, all that kind of stuff makes a difference on your overall health. Go outside for a walk. Make sure that you're getting some sort of fresh air. I mean, aren't we talking about a respiratory disease? How about we take in some fresh air? You're in the house almost all day long. Go outside for a walk. I make my ladies get on the bike, and you guys know that I'll make you get on the bike and ride 20 minutes. Big deal. You're sitting there in front of the TV anyway. Why not? Do some sit-ups, walk around your room or something. Move. That's important. Michelle Obama said that. Move. Yes. Absolutely. So just those simple things as far as what you can do, but there are some simple things as taking vitamin D. I'm blanking up. Echinacea, zinc, making sure you're getting some extra supplements like those on a daily basis. I use colloidal silver When I'm out in public, that's a spray that when I come in the house, I usually give myself a squirt that helps to boost your immune system as well. It also has echinacea and zinc in it as well. Green tea is really good. Those kind of things. So I don't want to take up all the time, but because I'll get on my little soapbox and I'll talk for days about this because I'm very passionate about it. I feel that we wait until something is wrong before we actually do something about it. It's today, right now, is always the best time to be the healthiest you can be.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Ward. I think that needed to be said. And, you know, I know, just keeping it real, that a lot of us hear this all the time. What you just shared with us isn't necessarily new, but we need to keep hearing it. So thank you. So Paige, what other questions do we have in the chat?
Yeah, for sure. So how Dr. Ward spoke about you can get the vaccine like it's with anything that you have. Is there any red flags for people who say have asthma or any other type of disease? Like, is there anyone who should be weary about it, or is it for everyone?
Pretty much, if you, you know, I think adverse reactions to other vaccines should definitely be discussed before receiving it. Has been what I've been told. Outside of that, like I said, I really can't think of any other disease process in and of itself that would preclude you or exclude you from that. Like I said, with the exception of something that requires, you know, significant immunosuppression at the time you get the vaccine, and all that stuff should be discussed. So, so I mean, but you know, for the majority of stuff like heart disease, diabetes, all this stuff, those things. As a matter of fact, those are things that make you at greater risk of COVID-19, and therefore would, you know, means you should definitely be, you know, proceeding with trying to get the vaccine. So it definitely changes your risk profile.
So the people who have, from what I remember and what I've recently read on the new vaccines, the people that have problems with it are usually something that's in the actual dose. And they are at such low levels that they usually don't affect you long term. So if you have in the past if you do have like some of them are made with eggs or made in an egg with an egg protein or something like that. And so if you have problems with eggs, like an allergy, I think in the past, if you've had a shot of something that was made with an egg, then you probably were observed for like 30 minutes or so to make sure that you weren't going to have some sort of anaphylactic reaction to the vaccine. And then there's some that, you know, there's some vaccines that during the production that they have stabilizers or preservatives or something like that. But by the time that they get to the doses, the amount of most of them have been cleared away, but the amount of whatever residual chemicals or preservatives or whatever in the vaccinations are so low. Say for instance, everybody always throws this one in my face, formaldehyde. Yes, there is, they during the processing of parts of the vaccines, and not this one, but parts of the vaccine have formaldehyde in them. But by the time it's in a vaccine form, the levels of formaldehyde are much lower than anything like lotions or creams or whatever that you put on your face, which are considered safe by the FDA. So consider that you have this small dose of a vaccine in a fluid and even smaller amount of formaldehyde in that vaccine, that compared to like the glob of whatever you put on your face or on your skin or where you go outside and there's formaldehyde in some of the products that you use, some of the clothing that you put on. So when we're talking about these kind of things, you have to put them in perspective. So.
That's a really
I
good
think
point.
that one out there.
No,
People
absolutely.
always throw that one. Well, they put formaldehyde in it. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, they do, but you're not getting formaldehyde.
Right. Excellent. And that helps debunk some of those, those theories or thoughts. Anyone else want to talk about this, or do we move on to our next question? Okay. Or Dr. Haley, did you have something? Oh, okay. All right, come on, Paige, let's do another one.
Okay, so after getting the vaccine, is it still required or recommended for people to wear a mask, avoid large crowds, keep social distancing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 101,000%.
Okay.
Yes, you do, because it's not only so you can get the vaccination and still be asymptomatic carrier. Okay, so if you get that vaccine and think you're Superman and you can run out, just think of all the people that now you're infecting. Okay, so that's one reason. The second is that it's going to take a second for your immunity, and it's going to take us a second to get everybody immune. So that's where the herd immunity comes in. The herd immunity doesn't mean that we all go out and get infected. It means that a certain percentage of people have to have the vaccination before everybody else. We do herd immunity. So the group of people become immune, right? So it's going to take time. So yes, we will be wearing masks for a while. So get your cute mask. Wear your cute mask for another few months. Yes, it's gonna be a fashion statement for now. We're all gonna have these little suntans like this summer. Coming this summer, it's all gonna be up here like that.
Absolutely. Dr. Haley, you want to jump in and comment on that?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Dr. Ward said, she jumped on that right away, but she's right. And my colleagues, Ward and Dr. Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, but the vaccine is not 100% effective. It's very close. I mean, I think it's like 95, 96. That being said, there is a small chance that you could possibly get COVID. So that being said, Dr. Ward mentioned about the herd immunity. The more people that get the vaccine, that decreases the risk of getting COVID. So yes, when I get my second dose, I'll still need to wear my mask because it's close to 100%, but it's not quite. So there's still that small chance. And so there might be someone else out there who hasn't got the vaccine yet, and I could potentially contract it from. But the vaccine is very effective. I mean, I think it's again, I don't know the numbers, but it's close to 100%. But so yes, you do want to please, I'm going to wear my mask. I'm going to still social distance, clean hygiene or hand hygiene, and do all those things until, enough of us, not only healthcare workers, but the community gets vaccinated. So that herd immunity, this meaning, the majority of the rest of Americans can get vaccinated as well.
The other thing I would add to that, to what they've been said, is that one of the reasons this is out of control is because people weren't diligent about wearing masks. I mean, masks are effective. And if everyone had worn a mask from the beginning, we would not have the out of control numbers that we have. Secondly, the vaccines are both about 94 to 95% effective, as Dr. Haley's pointed out. You can still get it. And this whole idea of herd immunity only exists in the sense of having an effective vaccine. It has never happened with a wild infection. So there's been a lot of misinformation out there. This is the only way we get to herd immunity is with getting over 70% of the population vaccinated.
And that means a good percentage of our community has to be vaccinated as well. So
70% plus.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Paige, let's keep going.
Is the vaccine the same for everyone, or is it based on your age? You get this much, or is it all the same?
It's all the same.
I was gonna say it's a dose.
And also so the first dose gives you about a 50% immunity. And that's why it's also so important to get both doses. So if anyone, we haven't mentioned that, but some people might think, well, I got one shot, maybe I'm okay. No, you have to get both to get to that 95%.
Is there a big difference between the Pfizer and the Moderna?
They're
Okay.
both mRNA vaccines. Their efficacy is the same. The difference is that the Pfizer vaccine is approved for people 16 and over, and the Moderna is 18 and over.
Okay.
Minor detail.
Mm.
And then it's all in also the way it's stored.
Stored.
Mm.
Storage is different.
Absolutely. Okay.
And so the new ones that are coming out, so Johnson & Johnson will have one coming out soon, and AstraZeneca will also have one coming out. They had to redo some trials before they could get their emergency release because there were some things about their clinical trials, I think overseas, that we didn't accept. So we wanted to see more trials. And so they're running those now. So theirs is expected to come on in the summer. So Johnson & Johnson will be here in another couple of months or so. And then AstraZeneca will be shortly after that one.
All right, let's keep going, Paige.
So, is there a registry or database for where you all or people getting their vaccine can go, or people who are inquiring about it can go and see, like, how many have taken Pfizer, how many have taken Moderna, who's contracted it after getting the vaccine? Can people see that for themselves?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. My guess would be anywhere between the regulatory agencies, meaning like the FDA or the CDC. I'm not even sure if they're publishing those things yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so once you get vaccinated, they give you a link for reporting side effects. But as far as I know of, we don't have access to the numbers and reports and stuff of the nature. And I haven't seen anybody do a report on that so far.
Okay, so along with those side effects, has there been any side effects shown after getting the vaccine?
I think the Pfizer one, there were, a couple of cases of anaphylaxis. For the Pfizer one, I don't recall hearing anything about Moderna having that. And other than that, like I said, because it's reactogenic, you get those myalgias and stuff of that nature. But I think that's been pretty much, those have been the only things that they've seen. So, or at least that I've heard of officially.
The other thing I would tell people to be very careful about anecdotal reports of this happened or that happened, because, for example, you'll hear that a few people got Bell's palsy in the trials or whatever, but those are things that can occur naturally, and we don't know, we can't attribute these things to the vaccine just based on anecdotal occurrences for things that can naturally occur.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Okay, so is there research, or do you guys know how long the vaccine is going to work before you have to go in, like next year or 2 years from now, to get another dose?
Well, this is a novel coronavirus. That means it's new. So we don't know. We know that it is mutating, which is normal for coronaviruses, but I think we're learning on the fly here. So could there be a booster? Maybe. Could we have to get it again in a year? Maybe. You have to get the flu shot every year. You don't get a new, one flu shot doesn't make you permanently immune to the flu. So I don't know that anyone can answer unless there's some data that someone on this panel has seen that I haven't seen. That's probably not a question that we could answer at this point.
I'd agree.
Are you guys or any other medical professionals obligated or required to take the vaccine?
No one's
At
been
this time, no.
mandated, but I mean, you should, as a healthcare provider, get it. But no one's being forced to get it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we at our hospital, we're not mandated, but like Dr. Ward said, I mean, we're obligated. We're taking care of patients, and and the community should too as well.
Even before we go into the hospital, we have to update all of our vaccinations. So this is just one in the many that when you're dealing with patients, that you have to be updated to protect yourself. So, you're one-on-one, and you could be with somebody who is asymptomatic. So you don't want to take any chances.
And now they've extended it. I think I said earlier, to people who are 65 and older. And I know that there was an issue as far as, the distribution of the vaccine itself. It seems like there's been some improvement over the past week or so.
Well, I think that the initial rollout, as many things in this last 4 years, have just been mucked up along the chain. And so, yes, I think that you will see things are going to change and speed up, so that the vaccine will be available to many more people than they're getting now. But the initial rollout was for the frontline workers and the most vulnerable. And that makes sense, because the healthy population, or healthy population, can, if we're following what the CDC says with wearing the mask and stuff, we can wait, but they cannot. So we need to get the vaccines to them. And the rollout initially was a bunch of logistical nightmares. And so now they're trying to work on it. I think that some states are kind of taking it in their own hands, because the federal government, the current federal government led agencies have not been given the go ahead to help the states with regulations and how to distribute this vaccine. And so when things change a little bit, then the vaccine, it'll go a lot more smoothly. We won't have to have this many problems as we have now.
Yeah, I think at some point we need a national plan. I mean, at least have some national guidelines that can pass along to the states. So, okay, all right, Paige, just keep it moving.
For someone with liver cancer, would they be ideal to get the shot or not?
Cancer doesn't, depending on if it's a bloodborne cancer. As far as I know, there are no cancers that put you in that category of don't get that vaccination. Matter of fact, I think that some of the immunocompromised patients are getting, they get additional vaccinations, like pneumococcus and all these kind of things, but because they are so vulnerable. So this would not put them in a separate category. At least to my knowledge. I don't know, the frontline people need to chime in if I'm not giving the right information. But as far as what I know and what I've read, that they haven't put out any cancer patients or any types of cancer besides maybe a bloodborne cancer that you were not able to get it.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's not been a contraindication. Like I said, as long as you're not actively getting like chemo, where you might not have a response. Otherwise, kind of like Dr. Ward said, there's not a contraindication. As a matter of fact, it might be a greater indication for getting it to protect you from the actual virus itself.
Okay, Dr. Haley, do you want to add to that?
No, I agree. I think the big thing is, as long as you're not, immunocompromised at that particular time while you're getting the vaccine, people actively getting chemo treatments, just like, when you get your flu shot, if you have the flu, you usually don't get the flu shot then. Or if you're, some folks are cancer patients who are actually going through chemo, they probably would need to talk to their cancer specialists, because they would be immunocompromised in getting the vaccine.
So just so that everybody understands what we're talking about when we say immunocompromised, meaning that your immune system is compromised, meaning that it's not to its full strength. So if you're getting chemo, one of the things that chemotherapy does is it decreases your white blood cells. And those are the things that we're targeting with vaccines. You want to have healthy white blood cells to be able to create these antibodies that will attack the viruses, correct? So when you're taking chemotherapy, your immune system is going to be compromised. If you have a bloodborne cancer, your immune system is involved because your immune system is in your blood. Your immune cells are in your blood. They're the white blood cells. So that's what we're meaning. So I know we throw around a lot of big words, but I just want you to understand what we mean when we say immune compromise. And for the general population, that is not, I mean, unless it's something that you've done to yourself, meaning, that you're taking something that's, that you want to decrease your immune system, there's not really, so far, there's not really any huge contraindications, meaning that there aren't situations that I know of, other than what we've mentioned, that would prevent you from getting the vaccination.
Okay. So is there a difference between the two that are out right now? And if you have the choice to choose one?
They're both mRNA. They're both the same kind. It's just who made them and how they're stored. They all are effective. They all do the same thing. So basically, you want to think of this virus. So the different types of viruses, we go from having a weak, like the actual virus that's weakened, and that's one type of vaccine that we give. That's like MMR and a couple of other ones that off the top of my head I can't remember. But then we have one where we take the virus and break it up into pieces, and then we inject that, which is not alive. It's an attenuated or parts of the virus. And then there's we make vaccines towards what the virus makes. Like for tetanus is called a toxoid. So that means that we are making antibodies against the toxin that the virus makes. And then there is, what's the other one? What am I missing? Oh, a killed virus. So one that we absolutely just kill the virus and you're actually just getting like the shell of the virus. So this one is an mRNA, which means it is like, so I thought of this, and the easiest way that I could explain it to somebody is, okay, so I know everybody's all fired up about this Capitol thing. So if you think of the Capitol building as your body, all the members of Congress are all of your cells in your body, okay? You have the Capitol Police that were in there to protect all those people that were inside the Capitol. You had this mob outside, all the viruses and the bugs and everything, trying to get in. They get in, they infect everything, okay? So if the Capitol Police had the information, the mRNA, to disseminate to all of the other Capitol policemen so that they were ready. So when these people came in, they would have been ready, right? That's the easiest way that I can explain how this virus is. This vaccine is. I can't get that out of my head. Well, how the vaccine is. So what the mRNA vaccine is just the information to go in and tell your cells, I want you to make this little piece of protein that's on the surface of this virus. Okay, it's one of the spike proteins. So we see that little picture where it has all the little red things sticking off on it. So it is specific for that. So when your body sees that, it will know, it will already have the information in its makeup that it will know to go and make antibodies towards that virus, because that little spike protein is sticking up all over the outside. And so all those little antibodies will stick to the outside of it. Then all the other white cells that in their process will come and take that thing away. So that's what we're doing. We're not actually giving viruses anymore, or in this one. It's actually manufactured directions. And it's easier to control and easier to make in the process than it is to grow up a virus and treat the virus so that it can be injected. Those are harder to control. That's why they take longer. That's why this one was faster, because it was created in the lab. It's much easier to control all of the elements going into it. There's less variability because it's just instructions. So there's only one way you can write these instructions, and they're given to you in a shot, and your body knows what to do with that because of what kind of instructions they are. So that's why it is safe. That's why we were able to get it to market as fast. It actually, what people don't realize is that as soon as we went into lockdown, that's when this virus, they had started working on the vaccine for this virus. So it's not like it was made overnight. And it's not like the trials were, rushed through. It's just that the production started way back then, and it's a lot shorter process than trying to treat any of these pieces, parts, or viruses, or killed viruses, or weakened viruses that we give as other vaccines. So
is that why, I guess, for this vaccine to be 95% effective already, it's been less than a year, and the flu is only, I guess, in the 30% range, is that the reason why?
Well, the flu constantly, the flu virus constantly mutates. So even when the first case is reported, it's already mutating. So it mutates at a higher rate than we know about this one. So I don't know, that we may not even be able to pick up any other ones other than the one that we're now hearing about. So it may end up being something like the flu virus. Like I said, it may be something that we will be taking vaccinations for every year, just like the flu virus. But the flu virus has been mutating for years. We've been dealing with this since back in almost the turn of the century. So it's one that, every now and then one really humdinger comes through there, and we're like, oh no, here's another one. And then as far as like production for the flu vaccine, it's always a year behind, because by the time it's isolated and grown up and then in production for enough to be out there, we're already a year behind, and we're into flu season before that one. So we're now getting last year's flu virus or vaccine, sorry.
Thank you. That was helpful, because a lot of people, don't understand how we were able to come up with a vaccine so quickly. And so that actually makes you distrust it. I mean, it's like, well, wow, how, did they couldn't have just pulled it off a shelf or whatever. But in some ways, I guess it was something that was already in the works, and you just explained how the difference between the different vaccines.
The technology has been around for years, though, mRNA type things, and now they're actually using mRNA to treat cancers. So now we're using the immune system to treat cancers. So the technology was there, the opportunity was focused and there. And so that's why they were able to, they funded the companies to, say, hey, you need to pull your resources over here and focus on this virus. And so that's how they got it out there. I mean, you put energy into things that you want to do, like your health.
Yeah, you do. Dr. Eric Ward, you were going to make a comment?
Well, I was just going to say that this technology, the CDC has had for a while, and and that's why it's so important to fund the CDC and not defund it. And the DNA sequence of this virus was released in like January to everyone, so that's why they were able to start working on it so immediately.
Nice, excellent.
So if a person has recently had any other vaccines, how long should they wait to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I'm not aware of any reason that there's any contraindications or interactions, but I would let one of the frontline guys talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not aware either that there's any that you have to wait to receive. So right now, I mean, we're past the flu season, or not past the flu season, but as far as vaccination, a lot of us already been vaccinated for the flu. But I'm not aware. Maybe Dr. Brown can chime in as well.
Yeah, because I wanted to say it was either 7 or 14 days. They just wanted like a little minor separation between the two. And I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. Like they won't co-administer both of them, but But my understanding was that they separate them by like a week or two.
You mean the other
if you're
vaccine?
getting another vaccine.
Because from
Yeah.
what I know is that I didn't think that they would hold back on that. I didn't think
I
that
can
there was
double check. That would not have to double check, but my
because
recollection is that they were.
I mean, there are different kinds of vaccines. So it's not like you're
Right.
working on the same system. You could get the flu and the shingles at the same time. You could get, yeah, I mean, and we give babies 3 shots at a time. So I don't think, at least I don't remember seeing that there, I mean, I remember reading something like that, but I don't remember them saying that there's a contraindication of getting them with anything else.
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember a contraindication per se, but I seem to remember like a recommendation or something. It was whatever it was minor, but I'd have to double check.
So that's why it's just important to, you know,
And whenever you're getting the vaccine, I mean, if you tell whoever's giving it to you, that hey, I got my flu shot last week. I mean, they'll tell you at that point in time. So I mean, there's a whole little screening and information that they give you before they give you the vaccination. So some questions like that, they will, you know, if you have concerns, just make sure you raise it, you know, to the person that's about to give you the vaccine, and they will let you know what their information states.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks. Okay, anything, what else do we have, Paige? We're a little bit past our time, but yeah, maybe be able to bring in a couple more questions and then we'll start to wrap it up.
So, I think Dr. Ward spoke on nutrition, but could you just reiterate like some things that people can actively do themselves, what they should eat or take supplement wise to along go with the vaccine?
You're on mute.
How much time do you have?
I know, right?
I probably would. I tell you that question. First of all, you shouldn't be giving advice not based on science. Yeah, we can give some things that you have some ideas, but there's no proof. You can't be telling people, "Hey, do this," and you're not going to get COVID. If you want to give a general talk,
Never said
you want
it.
to give a general talk about
Yes.
what nutritional things are good, then that's a whole nother can of worms. And I'm not against all of that, but I think from the standpoint of what the purpose of this what Wellness Wednesday is about, I would tread lightly.
Well, I think
I'm not telling people this is an absolute thing. I'm telling people some things, some suggestions as to what they can do. And they're not like life altering things. Sleep is not life altering. Drinking water is not life altering. I mean, just basic things that we hear all the time.
Mm-hmm. Which is, you know, when we look at our community, you know, the pre-existing conditions and things that we have, if we could actually mitigate some of that, not that you wouldn't get the COVID-19, I'm not saying you wouldn't, but it would help you in the recovery if you did. So, you know, if you're a more healthier person, I'm assuming, I'm thinking, would that be the case?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I'm thinking at some point, Dr. Bonita Ward, we need to bring you back to talk about that specifically, just like Eric said, you know, we can maybe take that as another topic altogether. I think that would be great. That would be really good. Sure. All right. One more, do you have that many in the chat?
It's a lot, but I'll ask one, I guess, more towards the virus. If you were to get the vaccine and then still get COVID, does it lessen the symptoms? Does it lessen anything? What does it do towards that?
Yes, that's the thought, is that it not only can help prevent you from getting it, but it can lessen the severity of the disease. And I think that's been pretty well established.
Okay, what else you have in there?
Is there, what website or place would you recommend that people go to learn more about the vaccine, to get more information of when people in Ohio can get it?
The public health department here, the Columbus Health Department, CDC website has tons of information, tons on this vaccine, and on COVID. Columbus Public Health has lots of information, places where you can go get tested, places where you can go get vaccinations, all that kind of stuff. You just have to use the resources that are there.
Okay, we'll take one more, then I'm going to ask each of our panelists to just give some parting thoughts, and then we're going to wrap up our Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday.
I think that was a good way to end it, with letting people know where they can go to get more information. And we might be able to do like a part 2 to this to get to any other questions that were missed.
Right. And what we can do is we can go through Paige and look at some of those questions and maybe post some answers. We could talk to some of our experts here and post a few answers there on our social media as well. So let's do a round robin and just give some closing thoughts. And then I have a few things to share, and then we'll be out of here, everyone. Let's go with ladies first. Dr. Bonita Ward.
Well, my closing thoughts would be that do your own research and be your own advocate and get the vaccine. Follow the regulations until you are told that we no longer need it. The numbers are responding to everybody being vaccinated. So it's going to be a long haul. It's not going to be an easy thing for us for this next year either. It may be better, but it's not going to be easy. So we just have to hunker down and do what's right and do what's needed. And then in the meantime, you can take better care of yourself, and then get your vaccination and follow the rules.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Brown. Uh-oh, did we lose you? All right, we'll come back to Dr. Brown. All right, are you ready now?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just dropped for some reason. Okay, so yes, I would say overall, I kind of reiterate, kind of echo the same sentiment. I mean, I think that in regards to this, make sure you do your research, ask your questions, ask from good sources, and feel free to ask from more than one source regarding that. Regarding the vaccine and answering anything that you may have questions about, and kind of like I said also, in the meantime, be sure to continue to practice or to go about life safely in terms of keeping a mask, keeping some distance, things of this nature. The health part is also important. Because like I said, this is a virus. It's not, not necessarily specific immunity, at least initially. So those, so keeping yourself as stress-free as possible, and using nutritional supplements as well as a nature, to kind of help. Like I said, that doesn't prevent, but this is something that may help. So like I said, just always remember that that's a possibility. It's not proven. It's not like taking an antibiotic or anything of that nature. So, but it still may help. And otherwise, like I said, like I said, this too will pass. We don't know when, but it will pass. So.
Well, I hope it passed soon. I mean, we've gone through a lot this year. Woo! This has been a rough. Last year was rough, and never thought it would go this long, and we still got a long ways to go.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. Haley, you're up.
Yes, this is just to piggyback what everybody else said, especially what Dr. Ward did an excellent job talking about explaining about the mRNA and how the vaccine was made. One thing I did want to mention, because the question usually comes up, a myth all the time about I'm going to get sick if I get the vaccine. Mm-hmm. That is a myth. I mean, Dr. Ward did not mention about, the live virus being put in this vaccine, because it's not. So you will not get sick. Some of the common side effects for the vaccine, some people might develop fevers, which is okay because that's just your immune system reacting. It's recognizing, like Dr. Ward said, it's you know, our immune system is like the military, you know, like the police at the Capitol. It's recognizing the enemy. So if you get a little fever, that's okay. You take some Tylenol. That's just your immune system working. You know, you might get chills. There's another side effect. You know, fatigue or headaches. But the benefit of getting a vaccine far outweigh the risk of the side effects. And I'm seeing it here as a hospital physician. I see the other side of it where, you know, I'll take a headache or I'll take a fever as opposed to be on a life support machine or a mechanical ventilator or struggling to breathe. So, you know, I can deal with the inconvenience of a side effect. Again, I got the vaccine myself. You know, I had a sore arm, you know, for less than 24 hours, you know, I'll take that any day to be on a mechanical ventilator. So, you know, please do Salem, get vaccinated, but don't be fooled. Like we talked about, still practice social distancing, still wear your mask, until like Dr. Ward was saying, we can get at least, you know, greater than 70% the herd immunity that everybody gets vaccinated. Then we can kind of let our guard down. And like Dr. Brown said, this too shall pass.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm telling you, there's so many people who have died and who have contracted this COVID-19 to the point where each of us know someone, you know, directly within our own families. I have 2 friends right now in the hospital. You know, it's at home. It's right here at our doorsteps. It's in our house right now. So we've got to be diligent. So thank you. Dr. Ward, Dr. Eric Ward, we'll let you finish us off here.
Yeah, everything's been said so well. The only thing I would add is just be the change you want to see. Wear your mask, avoid crowds, wash your hands like it's your job, disinfect everything like you're a monk. And when you get the opportunity to get the vaccine, get it. It's absolutely safe.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. This has been very, very informative. And I just say, I hope that everyone that tuned in today got as much information as I did. I'm feeling very inspired and just, I don't know, we just need to get out there and do our research, listen to the scientists, and do what's best for ourselves, our families, and our community as well. We're getting hit hard here in the Black community, and so we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect ourselves and stay safe. Thank you all for joining today. I also want to give a thank you to one of our sponsors today, which is the Ohio Black Expo, who helped facilitate our technology here today. Both Sherry Hamilton and Mr. Michael McGee. So I thank you all, the folks who are behind the scenes making this happen. And Paige, thank you so much for being my co-host. And we'll be back next week for Wellness Wednesday. And again, stay safe and stay healthy. Take care.